Well, I'm Lisa Dombroski, and I'm the mother of Mark Dombroski. Mark was a 19-year-old freshman rugby player for St. Joe's University, and he and his team in March of 2018 went to Bermuda to participate in an international rugby tournament. On the last day of the trip, the day they were to leave the island, Mark went missing, and a police search began, which was joined by the Bermuda Regiment, and hundreds of kind Bermudians chipped in to look for our son. Tragically, Mark was found the next day. He was not alive. So Jin's and my purpose today is to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else's child or to anyone on their campus that they're responsible for. So my family has formed the Mark Dombroski Foundation, whose focus is youth athletics, education, and safety. So we want to partner and to talk to campus groups and to athletic teams to ensure that there are safe procedures in place when teams travel. Well, I think all of us that are involved with children, whether it be as a parent, as a coach, as a teacher, as an administrator, I think we all recognize that raising kids is a balancing act. So on the one hand, we want to have self-sufficient, independent, resilient, confident kids who are willing to take risks, and if they make some mistakes, they learn from them. But in today's world, there's just so much anxiety, so much worry about what's going on. And I think that more and more parents are trying to put their kids in a bubble, which clearly that's not a good reaction either. So life is a balance. So when it comes to parents and having the opportunity for their children to travel with a team, whether it be a school or whether it be a club team or whatever, and particularly if it's an away-from-home trip, an overnight trip, parents really need to do their homework. There should be established guidelines, written procedures, written itineraries. They need to well vet all the information that they're receiving. Of course, the child shouldn't even be considered for going on the trip if they're not mature enough, if they can't handle themselves away from home. Parents need to be aware of what's the adult supervision, which coaches are going on the trip, what other adults, do they have their clearances, background checks, etc.
Great question, Amy. First and foremost, have one. In this day and age, we have a certain elevated risk spectrum that we all endure, throughout our daily lives. Having one is, I believe, come to a point where it's critical for any educational institution to have. Unfortunately, implementing one, practicing one hasn't been consistent with the rest of campus safety and how it's treated up until now. I want to say I've been looking at this space and this specific element for about 20 years now, and I'm still shocked to see that there are major schools, both college and high school, that still today, neglect this very, very, important gap that they have from when they're on campus. They understand the rules, but as a team, whose mission and their primary goal is to compete, and we understand that, safety and security at an individual level has taken, a back seat to all of this. So, when we look back and we look at a really good policy, just take a look at the framework that any school or institution has on campus safety, and you can use those pillars, translate them over into having a formal policy, because I believe even just a fundamental policy, the formality is required in this day and age. Anytime they get young people and I am an example of one of them, that may not make the best decisions, when they're away. It's tough to try to, corral all of that. Now, bear in mind, most teams, when they travel, and it could be high school and it could be college, there's a big focus, and the time is allotted for a lot of the student athletes, from when the time they get on the bus to the time they get into the hotel, from the time that they are competing. But it's those general times, especially when we talk about international travel, that really, you know, has a tremendous other elevated sense of risk involved in it, just naturally. That's where I think teams and schools have to really get locked in on, to have those parameters, those guidelines, those roles, responsibilities of the staff that's traveling, the parents that are traveling with them, and then the expectations that the student athlete should have. Yeah, I think it would be based on the scope of the travel. If you take a high school that travels maybe around the county, it's going to be very different from, intercollegiate, team or club that travels now internationally. You see high school programs traveling from one side of the country to the other. Well, that poses risk. And then again, as we spoke before, when you take now a team, regardless of what sport, what team, what level, and now you take that abroad, again, a whole other risk spectrum that we're dealing with. So, to me, it would be very prudent to instill and integrate travel and security right at the onset. When you decide that we're going to take our team and we're going to go abroad, or wherever the case may be, that's got to be part of that solution and that planning and preparation, and should include the parents that are traveling abroad. There should be time scales from anywhere from 6 months out to 3 months out to 2 weeks out to 2 days before, to 48 hours, 24 hours before departure, and there should be that clear dialogue and information is key. Now, again, I know that most coaches, from my own experience, and student athletes aren't thinking about things like that. But there are simple things that you can do to help alleviate that critical incident that happens when no one least expects it, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So. Simple things like the cell phone. You can leverage and you can email everyone the itinerary. Not only that, but the contact information. Cell phones, international cell plan it's pivotal. Not only that, but, spend a couple of dollars for that time to have that that capability of communication, because it is absolutely critical, as you know as well as I do, when it comes to traveling and dealing with critical incidents. Something like what the Dombroskis went through. If some of these protocols were set, I think we wouldn't be here. But setting that and having it part of the planning and addressing it from the onset, I think, is pivotal. So everyone knows that it's a priority. Everyone wants to have fun. They want to compete. They want to win, but we want to also do so safely. That accountability is huge, and that expectation for the student athletes is absolutely pivotal too. Again, leaning on my own experiences, no one should be left alone. There should be just a brief conversation or some bullet points that you can hand over to a student athlete to review. These are expectations, these are the protocols, and there are no exceptions around it.